So I want to talk to you right now about religion, and I want to talk about like spirituality and also because I had a kind of even to me, and I think my life is pretty boring, but like to me, my religious kind of like experience was interesting, and my spiritual experience became interesting. And at first it was at first it was pretty boring because um and it was pretty depressing actually. It was just a really depressing spiritual experience at first, like not because of so much like being in any kind of organized religion or cult a lot or anything like that. It was more just because I wasn't in any real organized religious kind of upbringing like that was like extreme or anything like that. Or it was just more that the everyday kind of religious stuff that I was exposed to was depressing, and or it just wasn't anything that was really like taking itself seriously enough where I could take it seriously. So it was just like basically like, yeah, I went to church and Sunday school for a while when I was 5 years old, and again when I was 11. Like my mom brought me to church when I was five. And like I was really bored in the church because I mean I was five, and like the priest, well, not the priest but the minister, it was a Anglican church, and the minister was just going on about stuff I didn't understand. So I'm just like, or just about like using a language I didn't understand. Not like a different language than English, but just talking about stuff that I couldn't relate to for whatever reason. I was five, and the way he was, or like just talking, it was just I couldn't relate to it. So I just didn't pay attention and couldn't pay attention and was bored and found it bored. Even said I was bored, not there, but like elsewhere. And then, you know, and then there was a bit of Sunday school there where we were in different age groups, and like we did some activities, but I didn't really relate it to religion that much, except for the songs. Like it was just okay, this is arts and crafts, whatever. I'm just doing arts and crafts now. It's not like I related it to religion even when it was, because it was, but like I didn't get the connection. And except with the songs, which were obvious it was about religion. And it was like it was fun sometimes in Sunday school because at least I was with other kids there, but I didn't really connect with anyone that much or anything like that. And then there was a few little events like um there was a few little events where like little plays like for like some play where I was a sheep and I held up a sheep um like mask in front of my face where like I was pretending to be a sheep in that play. And then there was other events like maybe a ceremony, a little Sunday school graduation ceremony. There was where I got a little certificate saying that I was in Sunday school that year or whatever. And and we had like stuff outside to eat and drink and stuff. It was like a kind of in some activities, and then it was kind of a thing like that at St. Paul's Anglican Church in a borough of Montreal, like on the like West Island. It was like it's like a suburb of Montreal, called Lachine. And now that church is something else. It hasn't like it isn't a church anymore. It's something else. But like back then it was, and then it became you know it changed over the years, and I wasn't really there a lot until I was 11, and then I wasn't there a lot at all. And then I came back to Montreal after like a long time in various cities, and then I went there once for one service, and it was different again. And but anyway, like I just went just to like hoping to I guess meet people and talk about, because I'm not like a because like I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and I was hoping to meet people who just had their doubts and had their also beliefs still. And I was hoping to just meet people at any church who might share my beliefs, like, and doubts and all that, because we're everywhere, and sometimes we're just looking for each other, looking anywhere we can. And I only realized that Unitarian Universalist is the thing when well, at first my ex told me about it, but then I forgot about it. And then another time I took this course, not a course, I mean a test. I took this test online. It was like a quiz called like the Belief-O-Matic on like BeliefNet, like this website. I don't know if it still exists, but and it said I was 100% Unitarian Universalist, and it said this percent that of religions and that. I was shocked. I was kind of surprised that mm, that I was that it said that I was more Muslim than Catholic, and it said that I was more like Jainism 88% or something. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know what Jainism is. Like, how is that possible? When it was interesting. It was like, and then it said that I was more liberal Christian, Protestantism than like things like, New Age. And I'm like, what? Because before I had taken that test, and I was mostly New Thought, and then another time I was mostly New Age or something. And um like sometimes, like, because by then I had got on like a website called neardeath.com, which is about people's near death experiences and how it relates to religion, spirituality, because it is, and all of the, stuff that people realize. And I read books about it too, because, well, that's something that is very important. It's like the most important thing ever, really. I mean, it's about connections to each other, to God, or whatever you want to call it, or them, or whatever. And relation to the afterlife, how we don't just magically disappear. How could we, Mm. How could we just go poof and not exist? That's impossible. There's the law of the conservation of matter. And I knew that. I always instinctively knew of the law of the conservation of matter, even before I was taught it in school. I knew it since I was a tiny little kid, but yet I didn't connect it to spirituality. So I suffered about that, because I thought that we just died, or that we just went to hell, or that there's nothing was guaranteed unless we were perfect, or unless we had special powers, or unless we believed, even if we had doubts, that we couldn't help, that we couldn't control, that it's just us, because we're meant to. Everything is a creature of, of analysis, of, trying to know the truth, not of trying to repress, your concerns. And that doesn't work. And like, I felt like I would go to hell if I, even questioned. And that was kind of taught to me some places, or whatever. I mean, sometimes, by family members, well, mostly my mother, like, if you question, the afterlife, you're not going there, and like, what? And I thought that might be true, and I was scared. And what kind of a life is it to be living scared like that? That it's everything, If you don't have that, you don't have anything. It's more important than your physical health. I mean, it's more important than your physical safety. It's more important than your physical security. It's everything, because it's who you are inside. Who you are lives in here. It is not like, it lives inside this. And it's not, I mean, part of it does, and part of it is, infinite and goes out from it, but that's a different kind of worms that I'll talk about later. But, and it's a good thing. But it's just, I was not, I did not feel secure spiritually, so everything else was a disaster because of that. And everything took on a sad, even the happy things took on a sad, if it was a sweet thing, it made me cry, because it took on a sad kind of context, because I was just like, oh, this isn't going to last, and everybody's going to die, and everything is going to die. And what a way to live. What kind of a life is that? And it's not accurate. It's not accurate. It's not humane, and it's not necessary to think like that way. To have to think like that and feel that way, to be forced to be made to be guilted and shamed and scared into it, by people who don't know better themselves, because they were guilted and shamed and scared into it. And that brings me to the whole thing of what I call the original depressives. Like, who started all this? When did it start? It started centuries, like millennia ago, whatever. But, and was there a beginning, where we were all happy, whatever? And there was, I believe that there was a beginning where we were happy, but yet we didn't lock it in, so we lost it. And we didn't lock it in psychologically, consciously. Like, we always subconsciously know better, but we forget. And that is not a good thing, but yet it's like something that we can't, like, avoid until we lock it in, until we learn that we have to lock it in, that it's important, that it's the most important thing ever, to lock in, that everybody is worthy of, and, capable of existing, and existing forever, not just, and then nobody becomes nothing. How can that even be? It's the law of the conservation of matter, and matter is souls. Souls are matter, because everything's matter. Come on. It's not that I'm not a, logical person, or a rational person, or I'm not someone that doesn't believe in science or anything like that. It's just, I don't believe in blind science, that they say is science, but it's actually, not science at all. It's just, you're following somebody who's wearing a suit just because they're wearing a suit, or just because they have a degree, a piece of paper, or whatever. That's not actually logic at all. That's a cult itself. And, blindly believing that there's nothing. I mean, that's not, not being gullible. That's actually being gullible. Well, doing something gullible anyway, where, you're buying wholesale, as my husband would say, you're buying wholesale, that nothing makes sense, that there's nothing, the nihilists. That's why nihilism just, I don't understand. And yeah, I understand how they get so confused in a way, because I've been that way myself, where I got so confused I thought nothing was everything, everything was nothing. This friend of my mother's, he got me to that state where he was having me question things in a way where I ended up thinking black was white and up was down and whatever. And I started thinking, if everything's nonsense, and then he's like, he kind of reinforced that in a way that was not humane. It was like, because I was thinking, if everything's nonsense, that means I can just be destroyed. I can just turn into nothing. And but what I didn't realize was, if everything's nonsense, then I have power too. I can just say I'm coming back, and then I'm back, because everything's nonsense, right? And but not everything's nonsense, because that's not everything being nonsense, but and that's impossible. But and then he was saying to me, well, if everything's, I was 16 years old, I was like still very questioning everything and all that, and he was like, like if everything's so all these contradictions, then isn't it a miracle, a God thing, that we can exist at all with all these contradictions and all that? And that just made me, think, oh my God, logic is nonsense, and I need to follow my intuition now. And that was a good thing, to follow my intuition, but it wasn't following my intuition, because it was like I was so confused, I didn't even know what my intuition was sometimes, and it was like, what is this, my intuition saying that like, feeling like scared because everything is, not everything's nonsense, because that's just impossible, but yet, because I mean, life goes on, and we start believing again that we start knowing that things aren't nonsense. But I didn't really know that back then, and consciously, and so I was kind of not, it wasn't humane as an experience. And then the next day, like no, I was failing math at school, right? Because I guess I was trying too hard or something too, because I was trying to think a certain way, and then I didn't, and then I failed math, like the math test, the assignments, whatever, because of it. And then, the next day when we had a math test in school, after that conversation with my mom's friend, which was just so traumatic. And then, like, the math test the next day. Uh, mm,
You need to be on your side.
oh, okay, okay, okay.